The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
I guess for us the big thing is talking about, that transition from week 1 to week 2. I think that's one thing that you hear across the country today in coaching is your greatest improvement should be able to come from week 1 to week 2. And I think that's one thing we talked to our players about yesterday, being able to go back in, break this film down from West Georgia, and talk about the things that we need to improve on going into this week. Meeting with coaches this morning, put the schedule together. Hey, what do we need on the schedule to make sure that we can fix some of the mistakes that we made last week? And so, the big thing for us is you challenged the team yesterday, like doing the little things well. That's the difference between good and great is, like a lot of times good football teams, they kind of get the big picture, but you don't really understand the details. And so that's for us, like yesterday and today, like challenging them to do the little things well. When I get in position to make a play, you don't really stop. You have to change your momentum, but still keep it moving forward. And those were some things that, we saw in the game from Thursday, kind of digging our heels in rather than the inside balls of our feet. Making sure we make some of those transitions lower pad level is something that we still need to continue to improve on. Have an opportunity to make plays, and we talk about our theme being be the one, and that when you have those opportunities, like, capitalize on them. And so those are the things that, we're looking on kind of pressing and making an issue this week in practice.
One thing that, for a week 1 game, I don't know that I've seen a week 1 game where you didn't have a procedure penalty called. No false starts, no illegal formations, nothing like that. What do you owe that cleanliness to?
I think this group of guys they're really tuned in to trying to do things the right way. And so, that normally breeds some discipline, which is a result of kind of them coming into the game with really good focus, coming into the game and understanding what's going on. Like we didn't do a whole lot. We wanted to make sure we kept things as simple as possible to give them the best chance to execute. And so, like, with some of that stuff being goals in mind, the biggest thing we wanted to see was we wanted to see their effort. We wanted to see them, go out and play hard. We wanted to see them work and function together as a football team.
Franklin Pierce is a program largely in progress, third year of intercollegiate football, pretty good sprint football team, won some championships through the middle portion of the 2010s, but still trying to find their way at the D2 level, but certainly have a running back who can get the job done in E.J. Burgess. Last year you faced off against 2 of the top 10 rushers in the country, that Barton and L.R. Burgess was just outside the top 10. How's his running game similar, different to a Dwayne McGee at L.R. or the kid at Barton?
EJ's a good back. He rushed for, I think, 1,200 yards last year for them. And so, the big thing for him is, he's kind of got that good combination of speed and power, to where McGee is he's a powerful back, but he's a little smaller, a little bit more scatty than what we'll see this week. But, he's a just really good combination, a lot like the kid we talked about from Limestone. Just a really good combination of speed and power. They'll work to get him the ball outside. He does a good job of catching the ball out of the backfield. So, he presents a good challenge. That's where you talk about them, winning championships in sprint football. The thing that's crazy is it's still really the same thing, same game, except, they get to try to get some bigger guys up front right now. So I think Coach Gass has done a great job, kind of putting this program together. They play really hungry, and so it's something that you see on film.
They've been right on the cusp for a while now. Played within a touchdown or 2 of 3 nationally ranked teams a year ago, lost twice in overtime, had opportunities against Edinboro in week 1 and couldn't capitalize. Defensively, low-scoring game. How do you keep a hungry team like that at bay?
I think the biggest thing for us is we have to be hungry. That's when you get into the games like this, it's just like, we have to be able to go out and we have to want it and we have to be ready and willing to fight and we have to be able to be ready to do whatever it takes to win the football game.
What's the biggest key for your group to change last week's result into a victory this week?
I think consistency. I think there are points and times where we play it well, and then there's points and times to where, we give up, an easy play because we either miss a line, we don't get the block that we need, or we blow a coverage. So we've got to be able to find that consistency, from the beginning of the game to the end of the game to where we function and do it the right way without having those little lapses within it.
Obviously, from a passing attack perspective, Braxton Westfield's a great option to have. How important, though, is it to see a second and third option emerge at the receiver spot?
And I think that's something that we knew going into the season. Like, we've got a lot of new guys there. To have a couple of different guys catch the football is encouraging. With Cade Meeks coming on, to be able to put someone else on the field and make sure that they can't try to go double him or do something weird, to that side. I think it's important for us to have some of those younger guys step up and respond and be ready to play.
From a defensive backfield perspective, Major Williams seems like he's the leader of that group, but it's really a group of leaders with how much experience and how much talent you have back there. How excited are you to see that group develop over the next few weeks?
It was fun watching Coach Slade come in and be kind of encouraged about those guys, even though we made some mistakes in the game Thursday, to be encouraged about their ability and what they're capable of doing. Major's been a good addition to us, and a lot of that has been from a leadership standpoint. A lot of what you see transition into that position has kind of been, a good bit to his leadership. And so that's like some things that, we got to continue to push those guys. We got to continue to help Major, get better as well.
Conversely, on the offensive side, Ivan Corbin, been around for a long time, gets injured, can't come back in the game until the deficit's maybe a little bit bigger than he would have liked. How have you seen him over the last few days kind of get ready to get back into action and make sure that he can be the leader of this group?
Yeah, that's where Ivan and I met. I guess it was Sunday night. We did kind of a late meeting because, being injured is tough. He kind of went in the game, was good, was able to come back and play some more. But it's just tough for all of our guys. The toughest thing I experience every single day are the guys that are off to the side, because they're trying to figure out how to connect with the team, like how to be involved. And it's just mentally it becomes challenging. And so just talking to him about, just basically it boils down to, we keep saying this over and over, in order to have a good marriage, you got to communicate. In order to have a good football team, you got to communicate. And so that's one thing I talked to him about yesterday was just, hey, man, like everything that's going on, like just know that the airway's open to talk about it. I only have one requirement, just tell the truth. As long as we communicate and we're truthful with one another, like whatever the problem is, whatever the injury is, we can kind of get past that because we had the right information to make the right decisions. And so I think, for him, it was frustrating not being able to finish the game. He scratched and clawed. We debated whether to put him back in or not, knowing that he could go back and play. He's a kid that's from Georgia. His brother plays at West Georgia. Like, that's a game that was really important to him. But, as we transition forward, with him being the quarterback, it's important for them to be able to see him come out and compete. To see him bounce back from this, to see, him be encouraged even though he's kind of got his back against the wall. The cool thing talking to him was like listening to how some of the other players on the team were encouraging him. Hey, that happened to me back at this point in time. Like, man, I was fine. Like, everything's going to be good. And so, like, this is a good group when it comes to that type of stuff.
It's obviously a big part of your job to teach, but how difficult is it to teach a team how to win games?
I think, the biggest thing is you have to do it. They have to experience it. They have to feel it. We went to a church a couple of weeks ago, and that's where we talked to the coaches about their theme. Went to the Avenue, and their theme was dope. And it talks about dopamine and how addictive it is when you get this rise and you get this good feeling, then you want to kind of return back to that spot. And so I think, this team getting a win and getting one early, I think something that'll be encouraging for them. We need to go make sure that we get that done to have that feeling, to go ahead and get that whole thing behind you as far as like, you raise that question of can we, and then just start focusing on how do we do it and what needs to be done. I think that's the biggest part of it. It's just, putting all whatever, that's what I talked to our coaches, the same thing, the biggest thing from that sermon was like, when you look back, and that's the thing that we have a tendency to do, when you look back, if it's something that encourages you or pushes you to move forward closer to Christ, then it's okay to look back. But when you look back, if it's something that discourages you or it disconnects you from Christ, then, stop looking back. And so, we need to look back at the things that will encourage us and push us to move forward. We don't need to look back into the things that are going to weigh us down or create doubt for us.
You kind of touched on it a smidge with the injury to Ivan, but you had another one to your left guard, Mike Clowney, gets tossed into the fire for a position that he hadn't practiced much during preseason camp. What did you see out of him week one?
that's where you get to the next man up mentality. And everybody says that, but like sometimes for the kids, it can become a negative because we talked about how hard it is to be injured. So the next man up is like we need that next guy to be prepared. The tendency is, like I didn't get to play or I'm second team. Like, how are you going to respond to that? Like do you do one or two things? You either pout or you prepare. The good thing is I think Colt comes to work every day. He's prepared. So, as disappointed as we were not to be able to take Mike to that game because I think he provides leadership. He's our older, better guy there. It hurts us not having him. But, we feel confident putting Colt in the game and giving him the opportunity to play. We believe that he can go get done what we need to get done.
Talking about injuries, how does your own experiences as a player, being a beat-up linebacker in the mid-'90s, help convey those emotions to your players now?
I think that's the one thing I talked to Guy Ivan, when we were in this weekend. I was like, I sit here in 1995 and 1996. I did an interview on Thursday, said, hey, chances are you're getting tackles a game. You only need 6 to break the record. Chances are you'll break the record this weekend. Like, how do you feel about that? I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe this dude just asked me this question. And lo and behold, I go out, first quarter, I got 2 tackles, I get hurt, and I miss the next 4 games. I don't play the rest of the regular season, that's what that record was for. And so, like you said, I've been an injured guy. And at that point in time, this is what I told him. I was like, I didn't understand at that moment, like, what God was trying to do. But in my position right now, the opportunity I have is to talk to injured guys about what it looks like and what it feels like to be injured, and then what you have to do to overcome it. Fortunately, my teammates put us in position to make the playoffs every one of those years. Both times it could have been my last game if we don't make the playoffs. But my teammates played well, and they put us in position to be able to go get into the playoffs, and you get an opportunity to play again. And I remember Coach Barks grabbed me at LR, and I just sitting on the fence boo-hooing. He's like, dude, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. I just want to play. And he talked to me that day about my priorities. He's like, chances are you'll get to play football again, and there's, there are other things to life that's bigger than this. Even if you don't, I see a lot of success in your future. And so I didn't listen to that. I didn't appreciate that day. But, but 40 years, I guess 30 years down the road, like it matters, And so, my experiences have been super duper influential in the way we handle injured guys. I remember walking on the field with my street clothes on. He said, hey, are you playing football or are you street guy today? And so, that's why one of the reasons we ask our guys, hey, man, go get dressed up. Go do stuff to get better. Don't just sit here and sulk because, like I say, that natural tendency is to, first you start wearing your street clothes, and then next thing you know, you're missing drills, and then you're not at practice, and then you run around campus telling people that people on the team don't love you anymore, and that's just not how it works. We have to find a way when we're injured to be connected with the football team.
New quarterback for Franklin Pierce, Bryce Messina got a few reps last year, but they bring in the Western Kentucky transfer Tavares Thomas. Good through the air, good on the ground in week 1. What sticks out to you about his game?
He's a good pickup for them. He's a dual threat guy, great size, throws a good ball, is a really good running threat. It's a great combination in the backfield with the running back. And so, that's where you turn the film on. Wow, man, I think they, got better there. And so he did a good job for him last week.
Defensively, really stingy in the red zone against the Fighting Scots. Didn't give up a ton of yards, either on the ground or through the air. What's the hallmark of their defense? Again, small sample size 1 week, but what impressed you?
They play with a ton of effort. They are an all-out effort football team. A couple times you watch their backside safety get down, make a tackle on the other side of the field for a 5-yard gain. And so, they do a great job of rallying and running to the football.